The gleaming halls of Stellar Academy buzzed with activity as cadets from across the galaxy moved between classes. The station rotated slowly, creating artificial gravity that suited most species. Sunlight filtered through massive windows, catching on the crystalline skin of Jin, an 18-year-old Lumidar female. Jin stood taller than most cadets, her natural exoskeleton reflecting rainbow patterns across the corridor walls. She adjusted her cadet uniform, specially designed to accommodate the sharp ridges along her arms and back. Unlike the softer species, Lumidars evolved with built-in protection, a biological crystal armor that made them natural warriors. "Another transport arriving," announced the station eye. Docking Bay 3 receiving new cadets from Sol System. Jin's friend Dad joined her at the observation window. His blue-tinged skin marked him as Aqualian, evolved for water worlds, but comfortable enough on land. "Humans again," Dai said, pointing to the ship's markings. "Third batch this month." Jin clicked her crystalline fingers against the railing. The Coalition must be desperate to accept them. What can they even contribute? Humans were newcomers to the Galactic Coalition, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 15 years ago. Most established species viewed them with curiosity mixed with dismissal. Their planet, Earth, was unremarkable. Average gravity, average atmosphere, average everything. "They build interesting machines," Dave offered. "Those power suits they wear are impressive." Jin scoffed. "They need those suits just to compete. Without them, they'd collapse under standard gravity." The docking bay doors opened, and 12 new cadets emerged. 11 wore the simple gray uniforms of first-year students. The 12th stood apart, a hulking figure encased in dark gray power armor that whirred softly with each movement. Unlike the sleek diplomat armor Jin had seen on human ambassadors, this was military-grade, bulky, utilitarian, and powerful. "That must be Kim," Daz said, reading the name illuminated on the armor's shoulder plate. Jin studied the human. The armor stood 2 meters tall, its helmet featuring a dark visor that hid any trace of the face within. Various tools and devices were attached to the armor's belt and back. "They always hide inside those shells," Jin said. "I wonder if anyone's actually seen one without it." "My cousin served with a human diplomat," Day replied. "Said they looked like pink Aqualians without gills. Soft skin, no natural defenses." The orientation leader, Commander Pack, approached the new arrivals. Even as a dracoid with his impressive height and scaled skin, he barely reached the human's shoulder. Jin tapped Day's arm. "Let's go. First combat training starts in 10 minutes, and I want to see how their newest pet performs." The training arena was a massive chamber with adjustable gravity and terrain. Today it was set up as a rocky field with scattered barriers. 20 cadets gathered as Commander Pack explained the exercise. "Capture the flag, team versus team. Non-lethal weapons only." He divided them into groups, deliberately mixing species. "Jin, you're with Team Blue. Kim, also Blue Team." Jin suppressed her annoyance. Working with the human would be a challenge. How would it even keep up? As they moved to their starting positions, Jin addressed the armored figure. "Stay behind me if you can't handle the pace. I don't want to lose because of you." The helmet turned toward her, and a modulated voice emerged. "I'll do my part." The exercise began. Jin moved quickly, her crystalline legs propelling her over the rocky terrain. She expected to leave the human behind, but the mechanical whir of servos stayed close. Glancing back, she saw Kim moving efficiently, the armor systems compensating for every obstacle. When enemy fire came from behind a ridge, Jin took cover. Kim did the same, then surprised her by launching a small drone from his wrist compartment. The drone transmitted enemy positions to their team displays. 7 opponents, spread thin, Kim reported. "Their flag is behind that central formation, lightly guarded." Jin was impressed despite herself. "Good recon. We need a distraction." "I can provide that," Kim said, adjusting something on his armor. "Give me 30 seconds. then go for the flag. Before Jin could respond, Kim activated something that changed his armor's color to match the rocks. He moved away, surprisingly quiet for such a large suit. Moments later, bright flashes appeared on the far side of the field. The opposing team concentrated their fire in that direction. Jin seized her opportunity, racing toward the enemy flag. She grabbed it but found her retreat cut off by two opponents, a Centauri with 4 arms and a Vex with enhanced speed. Both fired stun rounds that Jin barely dodged. Then Kim appeared behind them, moving faster than Jin thought possible. The human disabled both opponents with precise strikes before they could react. "Let's go," Kim said, creating a path for Jin's escape. They won the exercise, and Jin found herself reevaluating the human. Later, in the mess hall, she approached Kim, who sat alone, still fully encased in armor. Unlike other species who removed helmets to eat, Kim was feeding through some kind of tube system. "You performed adequately today," Jin said, setting her tray down. "Your armor has impressive capabilities." The helmet turned toward her. "The armor helps, but strategy matters more. I still don't understand why your kind joined the Academy. Most coalition races have natural advantages: strength, speed, built-in weapons. Without your machines, what do humans offer?" There was a pause before Kim answered. "Sometimes appearances deceive. Strength comes in many forms." Jin clicked her fingers dismissively. "Philosophy won't help in real combat. When your power runs out, what then?" "Let's hope we never need to find out," Kim replied. As Jin walked away, she couldn't help wondering what the human really looked like inside that mechanical shell. Probably pale and weak, she thought, like all creatures who relied on technology rather than natural evolution. She had no idea how wrong she was. 3 weeks into the academy term, Jin had established herself as one of the top cadets. Her natural Lumidar abilities gave her advantages in most physical tests, and she made sure everyone knew it. During morning training, she completed the obstacle course faster than anyone else, her crystalline body glinting as she crossed the finish line. "New record," announced the training eye. Jin stood tall, looking back at the other cadets still working through the course. Her eyes found Kim, the human in armor, methodically moving through each obstacle. Not slow, but not exceptional either. "Watch how a real warrior trains," Jin called out as Kim climbed a wall. Several cadets laughed. The human said nothing, simply continuing the course without acknowledgement. Later that day, Jin's friend Dad joined her for mealtime. "You should ease up on the human," he suggested, his blue aqualian skin shimmering under the cafeteria lights. "Why?" "They need to understand their place in the coalition," Jin replied, watching Kim sit alone at a corner table. As usual, the human didn't remove any part of the armor, instead connecting a tube from a nutrient pack to a port in the helmet. "Commander Pack says the upcoming survival exercise will be the most difficult in years." Dai changed the subject. "Teams of 2, deployed to Terrace Moon for 5 days. Jin flexed her crystalline fingers. "Sounds perfect for showing what Lumidars can do. The high gravity and razor winds won't bother me at all." The next morning, all cadets gathered in the briefing room. Commander Pack stood before a large holographic display showing a desolate, rocky landscape. "Terrace Moon," he began. "Gravity at 1.5 standard. Atmosphere breathable but thin. Temperature variations from -20 to +40. Your mission: navigate from drop point to extraction point, collecting survival tokens along the way." The display shifted to show equipment. Each team receives basic supplies. Your main challenge is the environment itself. Now for team assignments. Jin straightened, hoping to be paired with another strong species. Her hopes crashed when Commander Pack announced, "Team 3, Jin and Kim." "Commander," Jin protested immediately. "The human will slow me down. Their armor isn't designed for." "Teams are final," Pack interrupted. "This exercise tests cooperation as much as survival skills." Jin glared at the armored figure standing silently across the room. After the briefing, Jin confronted Kim in the equipment room. The human was checking the survival pack, methodical movements betraying no reaction to the bad news. "Listen carefully," Jin said, her voice sharp. "I need to excel in this exercise for my officer track application. Don't slow me down." Kim looked up, face hidden behind the dark visor. "I understand the importance. I won't hold you back." "You better not. Terrace has gravity that would crush an unprotected human. What happens if your armor fails out there?" "My armor is designed with multiple redundancies," Kim replied calmly. Jin tapped the chest plate with a crystalline finger, producing a hollow sound. "This metal shell is all that stands between you and death. My people evolved natural protection. We don't need machines to survive." For a moment, Kim said nothing. Then, almost too quietly to hear, "Sometimes what we need and what we use are different things." 2 days later, the teams prepared for deployment. Commander Pak reviewed final instructions as they boarded the transport shuttles. "Remember, this is not a race, but a survival test. Work together. Use your skills wisely." Jin checked her pack one last time. Unlike most cadets who carried extensive supplies, she traveled light. Lumidars could go days without water, and their crystalline bodies retained heat efficiently. Kim boarded last, the armor's heavy footsteps echoing in the shuttle bay. Jin noticed additional equipment attached to the suit's back and legs. "What's all that?" she asked. "Adaptations for Terrace," Kim explained. "Improved traction systems, thermal regulators, oxygen supplementation." Jin scoffed. "More technology to compensate for weakness." The shuttle journey took 3 hours. Jin spent it studying maps of Terrace while ignoring Kim. When they began descent, turbulence rocked the craft violently. "Atmospheric storms are stronger than predicted," the pilot announced. "Adjust your landing expectations." The shuttle doors opened to a howling wind. Dust and small rocks flew through the air as teams disembarked. Jin stepped out confidently, her dense body anchoring her against the wind. She looked back to see Kim activate magnetic boots that locked firmly to the shuttle ramp. "Extraction point is 60 kilometers north," Jin shouted over the wind. "We should reach the first ridge before nightfall." Kim nodded, pointing to a rock formation. "That offers the most direct route while providing some shelter from these winds." Jin was irritated that the human had spotted a good path so quickly. "I was going to suggest that," she lied, starting toward the rocks without waiting. The terrain was brutal. Sharp stones covered the ground, and the high gravity made each step demanding. Jin managed well, her crystalline legs designed for difficult surfaces. She maintained a punishing pace, secretly hoping to prove Kim's limitations. To her annoyance, the human kept up. The armor's servos whirred louder under the strain, but Kim never fell behind. When they reached a steep incline, Jin scaled it quickly, then turned to watch Kim struggle. Instead, she saw the armor adapt. Small spikes extended from the boots and gloves, allowing Kim to climb with surprising efficiency. "More tricks," Jin muttered as Kim reached the top. By evening, they had covered 15 kilometers. The temperature dropped rapidly as Terrace's small sun disappeared. They found a protected overhang for the night. Jin needed no shelter, but watched as Kim established a small camp. The human's movements were precise, wasting no energy in the high gravity. "Why did you join the academy?" Jin asked suddenly. "Humans are newcomers. Most species think you don't belong." Kim paused, looking up from a portable heater. "Because we have something to contribute, even if others don't see it yet." "Like what?" "Everything your species does requires technology. Without it, you're nothing." The helmet tilted slightly. Is a Lumidar without their crystal still a Lumidar? The question caught Jin off guard. "Of course. Our crystal is part of us, not something separate. Perhaps what you see as dependency, we see as integration," Kim said, turning back to the heater. Jin had no reply. As night fell completely, She watched Kim connect power cables between the armor systems, making adjustments for the next day. For the first time, she wondered what lessons this exercise might really be teaching, and to whom. Morning arrived on Terrace Moon with a blood-red sunrise. Jin awakened instantly, her crystalline body needing little rest compared to other species. She found Kim already up, checking something on the armor's forearm display. Weather scan shows a storm front moving in, Kim said without looking up. We should adjust our route. Jin stretched her limbs. I don't fear storms. We keep to the original path. The winds could reach 200 kph, even with your density. That's dangerous. Jin stepped closer, looming over the seated human. Are you afraid your armor can't handle it? Stay here if you want. I'll complete the mission alone. Kim stood slowly. We were assigned as a team. We proceed as a team. They packed quickly and continued toward the extraction point. The terrain grew more challenging. Jagged rock formations with deep crevices between them. The increased gravity made every step require more effort. Jin noticed Kim's movements becoming slightly less fluid as the hours passed. Your power reserves must be draining fast, she commented as they paused on a ridge. 70% remaining, Kim replied. Sufficient to complete the mission. Jin was about to respond when a distant rumble caught her attention. She turned to see dark clouds on the horizon, moving with unnatural speed. That's not a normal storm, she said, her crystalline features hardening with concern. Kim checked the scanner again. Meteorological data shows unprecedented activity. This wasn't in the briefing. The communications device on Jin's belt activated. Commander Pak's voice came through with static interference. All teams, emergency protocol. Meteor shower detected approaching terrace. Seek deep shelter immediately. Repeat, this is not part of the exercise. Jin looked at Kim. For the first time, she felt a flicker of real concern. We need to find a cave system. Sensors show a deep ravine 2 kilometers east, Kim said, already moving in that direction. They abandoned their measured pace, running as fast as the gravity allowed. Jin moved more easily, her body designed for harsh conditions. Kim's armor whirred loudly with the effort, but kept pace. The storm front approached faster than they expected, dust and small rocks already pelting them. There, Kim pointed to a dark opening in the ravine wall. They reached the cave entrance just as the first meteors struck nearby, sending shockwaves through the ground. Inside, they moved deeper until they found a large chamber protected by thick rock overhead. Communications are down, Jin reported, checking her device. The shower must be interfering with signals. A tremendous impact shook the cave, sending rocks falling around them. Kim moved quickly, pushing Jin aside as a large boulder crashed where she had been standing. Thanks, Jin said, surprised by the human's quick reaction. They settled deeper in the cave as the meteor shower intensified outside. Hours passed with continuous impacts. Jin watched Kim perform constant checks on the armor systems, becoming increasingly concerned with what the displays showed. Is something wrong? She finally asked. A rock fragment penetrated the outer layer during our run, Kim explained. The primary power cell is damaged, down to 30% and dropping. Jin frowned. How long will it last? At current drain rates, less than 10 hours. The backup system is designed for emergency use only, maybe another 2 hours after that. And then what happens to you? Jin asked, realizing she didn't actually know what would happen to a human without functioning armor on this moon. Before Kim could answer, another massive impact rocked the cave. This one was closer, and the ceiling above them cracked. Kim looked up, then suddenly lunged toward Jin, armor servos screaming with the effort. Jin found herself shoved forcefully to the side as tons of rock collapsed. When the dust cleared, she saw Kim half buried under rubble, the armor's lights flickering. Kim. Jin rushed over, using her considerable strength to clear the rocks. The human's armor was severely damaged. The right leg servo was completely crushed, and a jagged crack ran across the chest plate. The helmet visor was intact, but the status lights around it blinked red. Power. Critical. Kim's voice came through the speaker, distorted. Life support. Compromised. Jin felt something unfamiliar, genuine fear for her teammate. What can I do? How do I help you? The helmet turned slightly toward her. Nothing you can do. Armor failing. There must be a way to repair it, Jin insisted, examining the damage more closely. No, the word was firm. Only option now. Emergency protocol. What protocol? Jin asked, confused. Kim's hand moved slowly to a recessed panel on the chest plate. Stand back. Jin stepped away as Kim inserted fingers into the panel and twisted. A hissing sound filled the cave as seals released around the armor. Warning lights flashed across the surface of the suit. What are you doing? Jin asked, alarmed. Only choice left, Kim replied, voice clearer now. Armor's life support is failing. Better chance without it. Jin's crystalline eyes widened in shock. Without it. But the gravity, the atmosphere, you'll die. Not necessarily. The chest plate separated with a loud click. Humans are adaptable. Jin watched in disbelief as the armor began to open. First, the chest plate detached completely, revealing a black undersuit beneath. Then the arm sections released, followed by the leg armor. Finally, Kim reached up and twisted the helmet, breaking the seal with a rush of escaping air. Jin held her breath as the human lifted the helmet away. What she saw changed everything she thought she knew about humans. Instead of the frail, weak creature she expected, a powerfully built figure emerged from the mechanical shell. Kim was shorter without the armor, but with broad shoulders and strong limbs covered in the black undersuit. The human's face was striking, angular with determined eyes and a strong jaw. A long scar ran from temple to chin. Kim took a deep breath of the thin terrace atmosphere, grimaced slightly, then stood up straight. When the human spoke, the voice was deeper, unfiltered by the helmet systems. We need to find another way out of here. The armor's done for. Jin could only stare in shock as the human she had dismissed as weak began efficiently salvaging useful items from the broken armor. Everything she believed about humans had just been proven wrong. Jin could only stare as Kim stood before her without armor. The human was shorter now, just under 2 meters tall, but solid with muscle. The black undersuit revealed a powerful frame that seemed completely at ease despite Terrace Moon's crushing gravity. This is impossible, Jin finally said. You should be collapsing. The gravity alone should cripple you. Kim's mouth curved into a slight smile. Earth's gravity is only slightly less than this. We're built for it. The human knelt beside the damaged armor, methodically removing useful components and placing them in a small pack. Jin noticed that Kim's movements were actually more fluid now, without the mechanical restrictions of the suit. But everyone knows humans need protection to survive off-world, Jin insisted. The atmosphere here is too thin for you. Kim took a deliberate deep breath. It's thin, yes. Uncomfortable, but manageable. I'm extracting extra oxygen from the suit's reserve tanks to help. Jin watched as Kim attached a small device to the undersuit's collar, creating a thin mist that was drawn into the human's nostrils with each breath. The extreme temperatures then, Jin pressed. Your skin is so exposed. Our temperature range is wider than most species, Kim explained, removing thermal lining from the suit and fashioning it into a simple vest. We evolved as endurance hunters on a planet with variable climates. Jin circled the human, her crystalline body reflecting the dim emergency lights in ripples of color. Everything she had been taught about humans contradicted what she was seeing. Then why the armor at all? Why make yourselves appear so dependent on technology? Kim finished salvaging and stood up, meeting Jin's eyes directly for the first time. That's a complicated question. A distant rumble interrupted them. The meteor shower was lessening, but the cave system remained unstable. We need to move, Kim said, shouldering the pack of components. This section could collapse. They navigated through the damaged cave, seeking another exit. Jin found herself constantly glancing at Kim, who moved through the darkness with surprising agility. The human's night vision seemed almost as good as her own. "Watch this section," Kim warned, pointing to a cracked ceiling. "Step where I step." They emerged into a side ravine as the red sun was setting. The harsh landscape stretched before them, now littered with fresh impact craters. Their original path to the extraction point was completely blocked by a massive rockslide. "Communications are still down," Jin said, checking her device. "We need a new route." Kim surveyed the terrain, then pointed to a distant ridge. "If we follow that line, we should reach the extraction zone eventually. It's longer but safer terrain." Jin nodded her agreement, still unsettled by this new dynamic. She had been prepared to carry a weakened human to safety. Instead, Kim was functioning better without the armor. As they began walking, Jin voiced her confusion. "Our instructors told us humans were from a low-gravity world, that you needed technological assistance to function in cosmic standard conditions." Kim maintained a steady pace beside her. "Not accurate. Earth's gravity is 1.1 times cosmic standard. This moon is about 1.5. Then why let everyone believe otherwise?" Kim was quiet for a moment. "When humans first contacted the Coalition, we noticed something. Every established species had obvious specializations. Your crystal armor, Aqualian water adaptation, Centauri multi-line coordination. We had versatility. Not as impressive at first glance. They climbed a steep incline, and Jin was surprised to see Kim handle it with apparent ease. The human's muscles worked smoothly under the black undersuit, showing no signs of strain. "So you pretended to be weaker than you are?" Jin asked. "Not exactly. The armor serves real purposes: enhanced strength, additional protection, specialized tools. But it also shaped how other species perceived us. Sometimes being underestimated is advantageous." Night fell completely, bringing Terrace's temperature plummeting. Jin's crystalline body regulated heat efficiently, but she expected Kim to struggle. Instead, the human simply adjusted the thermal lining and continued walking. "Shouldn't we stop for the night?" Jin suggested. "I'd rather keep moving," Kim replied. "Humans have excellent night endurance. We evolved as persistence hunters." "What does that mean?" "On Earth, early humans would chase prey for days. Not the fastest or strongest predators, but the most relentless. We can maintain movement longer than almost any other species. Our bodies are exceptionally efficient at temperature regulation and energy use." As if to demonstrate, Kim maintained their pace through the night. Hours passed, and Jin began to feel the need for rest herself, though she would never admit it. "We can take a short break," Kim finally suggested, noticing Jin's slowing pace. They found shelter beneath an overhanging rock. Jin watched as Kim took a minimal sip from their water supply and a small nutrient bar from the salvaged pack. "You eat so little," Jin observed. "Humans can go weeks with limited food if necessary. Our bodies store energy efficiently." Jin's curiosity finally overcame her pride. "What else can you do that we don't know about?" Kim smiled slightly. "Our wounds heal remarkably fast. We can lose significant blood and survive. Our brains form new neural pathways throughout our lives. We can adapt to almost any environment given time." "And the scars?" Jin asked, gesturing to Kim's face. The human touched the long mark running from temple to chin. "From my first off-world mission. Proof of another human trait. We learn from pain." As dawn approached, they resumed their journey. Jin found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about humans. The Coalition had classified them as a technologically advanced but physically limited species. The reality was far more complex. They reached a high point, and Kim pointed to a distant flat area. "I think that's the extraction zone." "One more day's journey." Jin nodded, then asked the question that had been bothering her most. If humans are so capable naturally, why join the coalition at all? You could have remained hidden, built up your strength. Kim looked at her seriously. Because isolation leads to stagnation. Different species have different strengths. Together, we're stronger than apart. Jin considered this as they continued walking. She had spent her life believing her species was naturally superior. Now she wasn't so sure. The human beside her, without any technological advantage, was proving to be one of the most capable beings she had ever encountered. And she suspected the coalition had no idea what they had really invited to join them. The extraction zone appeared before them as a flat expanse marked by blinking beacons. Jin and Kim approached after 4 days of grueling travel across Terrace Moon's broken landscape. Both were exhausted, though Kim showed it less. The human walked steadily beside Jin, carrying more than half their combined equipment, despite having no armor. A coalition transport waited at the center of the zone. Several Academy officials stood nearby, including Commander Pak. When they spotted the approaching pair, their reactions were immediate and dramatic. Medical team, prepare for human casualty. Commander Pak shouted into his communicator, cadet without protective armor. Jin watched as several officials rushed toward them, emergency breathing apparatus extended toward Kim. The human raised a hand to stop them. No need, Kim said calmly. I'm functioning adequately. The officials froze, staring at the unarmored human standing comfortably in Terrace's harsh conditions. Commander Pak approached slowly, his scaled face showing clear disbelief. This is impossible, he said. Human physiology cannot withstand these conditions without support systems. Kim straightened, standing taller. With respect, Commander, that assessment is incorrect. Jin stepped forward. The human armor was damaged during the meteor shower. Kim survived without it. More than survived, thrived. The medical team scanned Kim with various devices, their confusion growing with each reading. The human's vital signs were stressed, but within functional parameters. There were no signs of atmospheric poisoning or gravitational damage. Get them both on board for full evaluation, Commander Pak ordered. Inside the transport ship, Jin and Kim were separated for medical checks. Jin was cleared quickly, her crystalline body showing only minor stress fractures that would heal naturally. She waited in the ship's common area for Kim to join her. When the human finally emerged, a crowd had gathered. Word had spread about the armorless human who survived Terrace. Cadets and instructors alike watched with new interest as Kim entered the room, now dressed in a standard uniform instead of the black undersuit. Day rushed to Jin's side. Is it true? The human survived without armor. Jin nodded. More than survived. Kim carried our equipment, navigated at night, found water sources I missed. All without technological assistance. Other cadets pressed closer, bombarding Kim with questions. The human answered calmly, neither boasting nor downplaying the achievement. Jin observed the interaction with new perspective, noticing how Kim's responses were measured and diplomatic. The ship docked at Stellar Academy Station 6 hours later. By then, the story had spread throughout the facility. When Jin and Kim disembarked, a larger crowd waited, including representatives from various coalition species. Commander Pak addressed all returning cadets in the main hall. The survival exercise revealed unexpected challenges. The meteor shower was not part of our planned test. Those who adapted showed true coalition potential. His eyes found Kim. Some demonstrated capabilities previously unknown to us. This serves as a reminder that we must never make assumptions about our allies. After the briefing, Jin found Kim in the equipment bay, examining a new set of armor that had been delivered. Will you wear it again? Jin asked, now that everyone knows the truth. Kim ran a hand along the armor's surface. Yes, it still serves many purposes, but not to hide weakness, Jin said, because there is none. Kim smiled slightly. All species have weaknesses, Jin, humans included. Our strength comes from acknowledging them and adapting. The armor enhances what we already have. Jin considered this. I've been thinking about what you said about persistence hunting. How humans would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. An ancient technique, Kim confirmed. The other coalition species are like that prey, Jin said slowly. We have specialized adaptations that make us immediately impressive. But humans have endurance. You play the long game. Kim's expression became more serious. An interesting observation. It makes me wonder what your real goals are in joining the coalition, Jin continued. If you've been hiding your true capabilities, what else might you be concealing? For a moment, tension filled the space between them. Then Kim laughed, a warm sound that dissolved Jin's suspicion. Our goal is exactly what we've stated: cooperation and mutual advancement. We didn't hide our nature to deceive, but to integrate more smoothly. First impressions matter. Later that day, Jin entered the training arena for hand-to-hand combat practice. She found Kim there, working with several cadets from different species. The human moved without armor, demonstrating techniques that used leverage rather than strength. Jin joined the group and soon found herself paired with Kim for practice. They circled each other on the training mat. No crystal spikes, Kim reminded her with a smile. No persistence hunting, Jin countered. They engaged in combat, testing each other's abilities directly for the first time. Jin was stronger, her crystalline body nearly unbreakable. But Kim was faster, more flexible, and seemingly able to anticipate her movements. They fought to a draw, both breathing hard by the end. Good match, Kim said, extending a hand in the human gesture of respect. Jin took it, feeling calluses and strength in the human's grip. Yes, first of many, I think. In the weeks that followed, a subtle shift occurred at the academy. Humans, previously tolerated as technological specialists, began to be recognized for their natural abilities as well. Other cadets sought them out for endurance training and adaptive thinking. Jin found herself becoming something unexpected, a friend to Kim. They trained together regularly, each learning from the other's different approach to challenges. One evening, they stood at the observation deck, watching distant stars. Several other cadets were nearby, a mixed group of species engaged in casual conversation. Jin noticed how the dynamics had changed. Species that once separated themselves now mingled more freely. The coalition is changing, she observed. Kim nodded. All living things must evolve or stagnate. Because of humans. Because of diversity, Kim corrected. Every species brings something unique, including yours. Jin looked at her crystalline hands, thinking about her natural armor that had always been her pride. I used to believe Lumidars were superior because we were born protected. And now I understand that true strength isn't just in what protections you have, Jin said. It's in how you use them, and when you choose to set them aside. Kim smiled. A lesson worth learning, regardless of species. As they continued watching the stars, Jin considered how much had changed because of one crisis on a distant moon. Old assumptions had been challenged. New possibilities had emerged. The galaxy suddenly seemed both larger and more connected than before. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Earth continued its orbit around an average yellow star, home to a species that was proving to be anything but average.